Experts on 3 continents combine diverse backgrounds and complementary perspectives to meet your specialized needs. And national recognition as a great place to work helps us attract the best people in our industry to advise you. With Baird, you'll experience a different financial partnership. Discover the Baird difference. Visit BairdDifference.com.
Hello, I'm Mike Huckabee. President Trump has made history and is back in the White House. And your kids need to know what this means for their future and our country. That's why they need the Kids Guide to President Trump. This fun guide will teach your kids all about President Trump's accomplishments and his plan to save America and make it great again. And right now, I want you to have it for free.
Act now and get a free limited edition collectible pin. Get it before it's gone. Visit kidstrumpbook.com. That's kidstrumpbook.com.
Nutritional supplements are too expensive. At Live Good, we're doing it different by making the highest quality supplements and selling them for just a few dollars above cost. Just look at our Super Reds, arguably the best cardiovascular health product ever created. Other companies are selling Reds powders for as much as $59, and they're not even organic. At Live Good, you get the highest quality USDA certified organic Super Reds for just $24. Less than half the price for a better product. And by the way, it tastes amazing. How about magnesium? Something everybody needs and most of us are not getting enough of. Don't spend $40 for lower quality. At Live Good, you get the highest quality magnesium on the market for just $14.95. Ready to take your health to the next level? Go to livegood.com/SXM and join the 1.5 million people who have already made Live Good the fastest growing supplement brand in the world. We'll even give you 10% off your first order. livegood.com/SXM.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
I'm Joel Clark, a SelectQuote agent, with a true story of how SelectQuote goes to bat for you for buying term life insurance. A while back, a man called me who had prostate cancer. He asked if I could beat a very high rate he got from another agent. I got to work and found him a trusted carrier that offered $500,000 in coverage for $36 a month, which is way less than what he had been quoted elsewhere. When it comes to term life insurance, no company can match SelectQuote's expertise in finding you the right policy at the right price.
For your free quote and to find out how much you can save, call 1-800-330-1122. That's 1-800-330-1122. 1-800-330-1122. Or go to SelectQuote.com. Since 1985, we shop, you save.
Get full details on the example policies at SelectQuote.com/commercials. Your premium could vary depending on your health, issuing company, and other factors. Not available in all states.
Too many patients, unfortunately, have lost their lives by not having access to targeted cancer treatment. Most patients do not know all of their options. Invita's precision immunotherapy, genomics, and non-invasive surgery are working to protect and extend lives. I'm Dr. Dino Prado, and I personally welcome you to utilize our Precision Second Opinion and discover if Invita is right for you. Visit us at Invita.com, ENVITA.com.
Harris Faulkner puts America's news in focus.
We begin here demanding answers.
Don't miss the Faulkner Focus, weekdays at 11 a.m. Eastern on Fox News Channel.
Search and rescue operations underway right now in Kentucky, where catastrophic flooding is being blamed for 11 deaths, including a mom and her 7-year-old daughter. This is such a tragic flooding that we are watching here. And in northwest Tennessee, torrential rains caused a levee to fail, flooding the small town of Reeves. And that is where we find senior correspondent Jonathan Seri covering this very difficult story for so many people this afternoon. Hi, Jonathan.
Hi, Martha. Here in Reeves, Tennessee, most residents have already evacuated their homes over the weekend. Today, first responders went out to the homes of some of those reluctant holdouts, people who just didn't want to leave their homes behind, strongly persuading them to leave for higher ground. Take a look at our live drone shot. As you can see from these aerial views, floodwaters still surround many of the homes, and even those where the water has not entered the actual structure, there's no power. And with freezing temperatures this week, authorities warn it will be uncomfortable and unsafe to stay behind. At the same time, local officials are sympathetic because they know how difficult it will be for many storm survivors to rebuild.
We have a real low economic base here. It's a real poverty area.
So, some people have flood insurance, but a lot of people can't afford flood insurance. So they're kind of left on their own to try to get their house back in order.
President Trump has approved an emergency declaration for the neighboring state of Kentucky, where the storm has killed at least 11 people, including a 7-year-old girl and her mother. They were riding in a vehicle that was swept off a roadway by floodwaters on Saturday night. Driving conditions already treacherous, but now state officials are worried about freezing temperatures as we go into the week, the potential for black ice, and also additional snowfall. Martha?
Jonathan, thank you very much. So it is a scramble among European allies now as President Trump negotiates directly with Vladimir Putin to broker an end to the war with Ukraine. A story exclusive. My interview with NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte next.
Worried about car repair costs? At Meineke, we've got you covered with flexible finance solutions customized just for you. Whether you need tires, brakes, engine repairs, we've got a solution that will get you back on the road now and safely, ready for whatever lies ahead. Setting up a payment plan is always a good idea at Meineke. You may be surprised how much we can help make it easy for you. Each Meineke is independently owned and operated, so schedule an appointment today by visiting Meineke.com. Trust your key with Meineke, doing car care right.
Hi, I'm Sherry Harris, owner of LifeSource Water. I love that when I'm spending time with my grandson, I can make him a bottle using water from any tap in our home. With a LifeSource whole house system, every drop is clean, healthy, and ready for anything, from baby bottles to bath time. Plus, no regular filter changes, no fuss, just clean water throughout the entire house. You deserve water that performs at its peak. So call 1-800-WATER-99 or visit LifeSourceWater.com for factory direct pricing today.
Warranty limitations apply.
Looking for a smarter way to invest in real estate? Blue Onyx specializes in premium residential land development opportunities in rapidly growing markets with a focus on Missouri and expansion into Mississippi and northern Florida. With Blue Onyx, you can achieve cash flow starting at 15% ROI annually. Projects are pre-sold to trusted builders like Fisher Homes, ensuring minimized risk and guaranteed returns. And each project is meticulously planned and executed to meet the highest standards. Blue Onyx has more than 15 years of experience transforming land into thriving communities, a proven track record of success, and they're trusted by investors who want reliable results. You can enjoy solid returns and peace of mind knowing your investment is in capable hands. Visit go.blueonyx.com or call 877-460-8040 today. That's go.bluonx.com or call 877-460-8040 to learn more. Invest with confidence. go.bluonx.com.
Individual results may vary. There's no guarantee that past performance will be indicative of future results. Invest wisely.
President Trump has stated that he is making the United States the crypto capital of the planet. Major mutual funds and banks are adding billions in crypto. It's time for you to invest. At DX Fund, we handle everything from buying and selling to growth strategies. And with 15% annual return before profit sharing, there's never been a better way to invest in crypto. For more info, visit dxcryptofund.com or call 1-877-DXFUND8 now.
The following content is qualified in its entirety by the issuer's offering memorandum, which is available to verified accredited investors only.
Regulated activities performed by a licensed affiliate.
I had no idea I can sell my life insurance policy.
Norman and Nancy Dugan for Coventry Direct.
We were about to let Norman's policy lapse because premiums have become expensive. Our kids are doing well on their own, so we just don't need it anymore.
Then Nancy called Coventry.
They were so helpful, answering all of our questions.
If you're over 65 and have $100,000 or more of life insurance, you may qualify.
After this past year, we're celebrating life. We've booked some long overdue travel, and we're able to pay for our grandkids' college.
Coventry Direct has helped thousands live the life they want to live, pay for unplanned medical expenses, or supplement retirement income. When it comes to selling your life insurance, Coventry's got you covered. Call 800-378-2989 or visit CoventryDirect.com to learn more about how you can get cash by selling your life insurance. Call 800-378-2989.
So there is a lot going on in the world today. European leaders are holding an emergency meeting, a summit in Paris right now, after President Trump announced that today there would be direct talks with Secretary of State Marco Rubio in Saudi Arabia and the Russians about how to end the war. Now, those talks are going on without Ukraine and without the Europeans. Germany calling this an existential moment for the continent. National correspondent Jeff Paul joins us in London. Hi, Jeff.
Hey, Martha. Well, yeah, these talks in Paris today were described as informal, but also as an emergency meeting in response to the Trump administration's strong push for a peace deal between both Ukraine and Russia. However, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, who was at the talk, says this is all very premature, and he even said he's a little irritated.
People are talking here about possible variants of outcomes over the heads of Ukraine, about the outcome of peace talks that have not taken place and with which Ukraine has not said yes and has not sat at the table. This is highly inappropriate.
Many leaders in Europe are now questioning exactly where the U.S. stands on the war and how much they can rely on the U.S. as a key ally. French President Emmanuel Macron welcoming the leaders of Germany, the UK, Italy, Poland, Spain, the Netherlands, Denmark, and the EU. Now, prior to the meeting, President Macron reportedly spoke with President Trump for roughly 20 minutes over the phone, but the details of that phone call were not revealed. This is all really sparked from after when President Trump confirmed he spoke with Russian President Vladimir Putin by phone in the hopes of ending the war. His special envoy to Ukraine has since alluded to holding Ukrainian peace talks without including any of the Europeans.
The European philosophy has not gone anywhere, so I don't know what can they do at the negotiation table. If they continue to scheme, devising tricky ideas to freeze the conflict, while they themselves, as usual, merely intend to continue the war, why invite them there?
A UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, who was also at those talks in Paris today, says there must be a U.S. backstop to ensure long-lasting peace in Ukraine and to make sure that Russia doesn't start another war again with Ukraine in the future. He says he's going to be traveling to Washington next week to continue those talks with President Trump. Martha?
Okay, Jeff Paul in London. Jeff, thank you very much. We bring in NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte. Secretary General, very good to have you with us. You have just been in the middle of these meetings. We've seen some headlines. Thank you very much. We've seen some of these headlines coming out from leaders from Poland, basically saying that they understand that the situation is very different now. Europe absolutely must step up to the table in terms of expenditures. What is your take on these talks between the United States and Russia and Europe being excluded?
Well, this meeting was really very successful. What you see today, we had General Kellogg, President Trump's special representative at NATO this morning with the ambassadors, and now we had this meeting here in Paris with many European leaders, and really Europe is now stepping up. Last week, I was a bit disappointed that Europeans were saying, hey, we also have to be at the table, and why are we not there? And they're now really starting to dialogue, to strategize how they can support the peace effort. And that is important because we know that post the peace deal, there will be the need to make that peace deal lasting, enduring. And that means we need security guarantees. So Europe can play a role there with a clear backup from the United States. So this was good. This was really a good day. We are moving forward here.
So what I'm hearing is that NATO is now okay with allowing the United States and Russia to have these negotiations. What about Ukraine?
Well, it's not saying that I am okay with that, because in the end it is, of course, the American administration engaging now in talks with Ukrainians and the Russians. It is my absolute understanding that Ukraine will be an integral part of those talks, which is only logical, because this is about Ukraine. Then there was the question of, hey, where are the Europeans? And what I said to the Europeans in Munich at this famous security conference the last couple of days was, stop complaining, start acting, get your act together. And tonight was an event, an evening, a discussion to really get that done. And what I heard here is people are willing to step up to support a peace deal. Obviously, that means that we still have many details to hammer out because the whole peace process still has to start. But it is important that there is now more convergence on this, and I'm really positive.
Well, it's really interesting to see this push and shove apparently bringing European leaders together and understanding that they have to make a stronger defense commitment in their budgets. I think that's a huge development. Here's one of the statements from Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, as you put it, from that very famous, at this point, Munich conference. Here's something really pivotal that he said. Let's watch.
That's why our message is so stark to our European allies. Now is the time to invest, because you can't make an assumption that America's presence will last forever.
Do you see this as a very large turning point for Europe and the post-World War II agreement that has seen the United States spending the most money in the entire equation against Russia? Is Europe now ready to take that burden of defense, 5% per country, as President Trump has asked for?
Well, clearly what the United States signaled in Munich, but also in a meeting of defense ministers with Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth being there, what the US signaled is, hey, listen, Europeans, you've got to pay more. And by the way, this was the message President Trump consistently signaled between 2017 and 2020. And we have stepped up. By now, we are spending $700 billion more on the European side of NATO than before President Trump came into office. It is absolutely still not enough. We have to do much, much more. But the good thing is now that we have a process in place by which we can exactly determine what the gaps are in terms of long-range missiles, in terms of our armies, in terms of our logistics, in terms of our military mobility, in terms of our air defense. And it will require a lot more money than we spent so far. We will come to the conclusions towards summer on this. But I can hear now from my European colleagues that they're willing to step up, also when it comes now to Ukraine, helping with the peace deal, but also when it comes to spending more on defense, because it is fair. Not only because President Trump wants this, and Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, but also because we have to defend ourselves. And going forward, we cannot if we do not spend more here in Europe. And the effect is that we will be more in balance with the US.
So I think that will be very welcome to the White House, to the administration, and, you know, the importance of stepping up to defend Europe, especially against Russia. I want to ask you, though, what you think Putin, how he will interpret all of this, because there's a lot of reporting in the United States that this could be seen as giving Russia an advantage in these talks, that they would still be able to keep Crimea and Donbass, the regions that they took over the last 10 years.
Well, Martha, as you know, the talks have to start. I have great trust in the American team conducting those talks. Ukraine will be part of those talks, no doubt. Europe wants to have a place at the table. Well, I told them, fight yourself a way to the table by coming up with concrete proposals. That is now happening. But to your point, President Putin has to realize that at this moment, NATO is able to defend itself. If he would try to capture 1 square mile of Estonia or Poland or whatever territory in NATO, the reaction will be devastating. My problem is that in 3-5 years, given his huge defense spending, given his huge defense industrial base, that we would not be able anymore to defend ourselves. And that is why we have to spend more. But this is also why on Ukraine we have to get to a deal which is strong. China is watching, others are watching, but it has to be strong and lasting and enduring, so that we make sure that he will also, when it comes to Ukraine, never try again.
Yeah, I mean, it's clear that President Trump believes that Europe has to defend Europe when it comes to Russia in particular, and that the United States has to turn its attention to China and to the larger threats that are out there in order to secure really all of Western civilization. Is NATO willing to take on the peacekeeping mission, including NATO boots on the ground, for Ukraine when this negotiation hopefully is settled and the war is over?
Well, one, NATO is for over 50% US. And the other 31 NATO countries, the combined economy is a little bit under 50% compared to the US. So the US is by far the most important ally within NATO. But the US is absolutely right that it is only fair that on the European side of NATO, we ramp up spending because we need to do it for our own defense, but also because it is fair to get this balance with what the US is spending on defense. But that doesn't mean that the US is abandoning Europe. No, we have to work together to make sure that we keep the whole of NATO territory safe. But clearly we have to step up on this part. And when it comes to the other theaters, the other areas in the world where the US has to concentrate its attention on, obviously China. And of course the Middle East, it's only fair that they ask the Europeans to do more so that they can be able to make sure that they can have their attention concentrating on all these areas, including Europe. So I really understand that, but it doesn't mean that they are leaving Europe or whatever.
Well, it's fascinating that this discussion about Europe taking the reins appears to be galvanizing the countries of NATO to defend Europe, which is clearly what President Trump has pushed for and Secretary of Defense Hegseth is pushing for. Obviously, we'll see if they actually step up and that turns into that 5% commitment. I know you've said it could be north of 3%, and we'll see where those numbers end up. Keir Starmer, the UK Prime Minister, is speaking out now about these meetings. He says it is clear the United States will not leave NATO, but Europeans will have to step up. Did you get that same assurance from General Kellogg and other American leaders, Pete Hegseth, President Trump, that the United States will not leave NATO?
Absolutely. There is a total commitment to NATO. Because what the Americans are telling me, NATO is also in their interest. The fact that the US, with 31 other allies, is working together makes it possible for the US to project its power, which, but it was on itself already very strong. But the projection of the power is much more effective when you do that with the 32. When it comes to Russia, but also, of course, when it comes to dealing with the situation in the Indo-Pacific. Not that NATO is active there, we are active in the Northern Atlantic region. But obviously, we can support each other, we can dialogue with each other, we can make sure that we share those strategic interests. So there is a total commitment to NATO from everybody I speak with in the American administration. But also this clear understanding, this clear, let's say, expectation that indeed, as we discussed here in our talk now, that we ramp up spending here. And by the way, collectively, both the US and Europe, we have to produce more. We are not producing enough defense industrial products. We are lacking behind Russia really massively at the moment, and China, and that is a big problem.
With regard to this criticism that we hear here at home as well, that this deal is appeasement to Putin. Do you agree with that? What's your reaction to that criticism that is in some corners?
I absolutely reject that. What the American president is doing, he wants to bring this war to an end. He has taken initiatives to do that. That whole process is now starting. The Europeans were a bit rattled when that started and started to complain that they were not involved. They are now stepping up. They are getting their act together, wanting to participate. Obviously, we will have many details to be hammered out, including if the US does not have boots on the ground, what will the security guarantees look like, the enablers look like, etc. So many things to be discussed, but in an optimistic atmosphere where Europe wants to speed up and wants to really get engaged. But I absolutely reject that criticism of President Trump's initiative. I think it's only right that he tries to end this war, and we need American leadership here.
So if there are no U.S. boots on the ground, can NATO, can Europe protect security for Ukraine without any U.S. boots on the ground?
Yes, but what the European countries are saying, and I think they are right here, from a strategic point of view, that it is crucial that there is a backup and sometimes enablers. And this is what and these are details. I mean, we can hammer this out. But it's clear that the US has said no boots on the ground. So that means that we have to work from that position and that we have to make sure that we still can do this. But it still means to have a credible deterrence, and to make sure that Russia will never try this again, that there is at least a backup from the Americans. And that's what we are discussing now together with General Kellogg and the American administration. Again, General Kellogg being today at NATO headquarters and traveling onwards now to other European countries and Ukraine.
All right, we're going to have a lot more on that. We'll have full analysis of the news that was made in the interview and in Paris today. But I got to take you to another breaking news story right now. Take a look at this. A Delta plane crashing and flipping upside down at the airport in Toronto. Reuters reporting that it was a flight from Minneapolis and that all passengers and crew are accounted for. The scene says that 8 people are injured. Look at this plane. It is literally upside down. There is no word on how this happened. You can see there's a lot of snow on the ground in Toronto. It happened moments ago. Senior correspondent Eric Shawn has been gathering the latest information here. Hi, Eric.
Hello, Martha. It is a dramatic and shocking sight when you look at that airplane. It is a Delta flight that took off from Minneapolis MSP Airport earlier today and landed about 2:13 or so in Toronto Pearson International Airport when it suddenly flipped over on its back, ending belly up. Thankfully, as we have said, that there were no deaths. There are 8 injuries reported. Officials and paramedics on the scene say of those injuries, 1 person is in critical condition. The rest are mild to moderate injuries. So that is what we know right now. Not aware of the conditions on the ground when this plane landed. It is a Canadair regional jet that is operated by Delta Connection and Endeavour Airlines, basically with no connection, the same type of jet that was involved in that horrible midair collision that we saw at Reagan National Airport just a few weeks ago. Of course, no connection to that, but there have been several recent mishaps of airliners over the past week or so. Perhaps this plane came in too fast when it hit the runway. Very slippery conditions because of the high gusty winds in the northeastern part of our country today. Winds gusting in some spots up to 70 miles an hour. All of this will be a part of the accident report that will be investigated by the National Transportation Safety Board in terms of trying to nail down the exact cause of this mishap, in which the CRJ Canadair 900 long-range regional jet that's used commonly by Delta Connection and other airlines landed and somehow flipped over on its back, waiting to get more information from authorities. We expect a press conference at some point. They have not given one yet, and we have not been able to talk to any passengers about that. But clearly, the black box will be part of this investigation, the communications with the tower when they were clear to land, and any other reports from other airlines and airliner pilots in terms of runway conditions, obviously, a part of the investigation going into what caused this Canadair regional commuter jet, which usually fits about 70 people or so, to flip on its side in such a dramatic fashion on this very cold, windy, and snowy day up in the Toronto Pearson, Martha.
Incredible. Let's put that picture back up. It's hard to tell, Eric, if this wing snapped off when it flipped over. We don't know if it flipped over before it hit the ground, because it was 70-mile-an-hour winds, as you mentioned, which can obviously be very tricky for the pilot to put that down in those winds. Sometimes they try to fishtail it a little bit to come in a little bit side on this, sideways to land and put those wheels down. But this is an extraordinary story. And thank God we're hearing that only 8 people were injured. One of them is in critical condition. We're going to try to look at the wheels up in the air in this amazing picture. But this is why they tell you to put your seatbelt on during landing, because that is what likely ended up saving these people. This is an extraordinary situation. We're going to have more. Eric, thank you very much. I know you're going to stay on the new details here. More on this breaking story right after this.
Nutritional supplements are too expensive. At Live Good, we're doing it different by making the highest quality supplements and selling them for just a few dollars above cost. Just look at our Super Reds, arguably the best cardiovascular health product ever created. Other companies are selling Reds powders for as much as $59, and they're not even organic. At Live Good, you get the highest quality USDA certified organic Super Reds for just $24, less than half the price for a better product. And by the way, it tastes amazing. How about magnesium, something everybody needs and most of us are not getting enough of? Don't spend $40 for lower quality. At Live Good, you get the highest quality magnesium on the market for just $14.95. Ready to take your health to the next level? Go to livegood.com/SXM and join the 1.5 million people who have already made Live Good the fastest growing supplement brand in the world. We'll even give you 10% off your first order. livegood.com/SXM.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Hear that? The sound of adorable little birds in your garden. And if you were here, you'd taste the 2 sweet but tiny tomatoes you grew all by yourself. But you're not here. Because your self-care happens when you're riding your motorcycle, protected by Progressive, on your way to the store for a pack of normal-sized tomatoes. So if you ride, switch to Progressive, America's #1 motorcycle insurer, without getting your hands dirty. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, not available in all states.
You're listening to Leaf Filter Radio, and the guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Coonahan, is here to take your most pressing leaf-related questions.
Hey, everybody, Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well, I was. I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have Leaf Filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/Fox to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank goodness. What was that site?
That's leaffilter.com/Fox for your free gutter inspection today. See representative for warranty details. Promotion is 20% off plus a 10% senior or military discount. 1 discount per household.
You know that creepy, crawly, tingly feeling you get in your legs when you try to relax? It can be overwhelming and so frustrating to keep your legs still and get the rest you need. The next time you feel that uncomfortable tingling feeling in your legs, take Highlands Restful Legs and calm your agitated legs fast. Available in both daytime and nighttime formulas, these quick-dissolving tablets provide fast-acting relief from itching, tingling, and twitching in your legs. Without aspirin, acetaminophen, ibuprofen, or naproxen. Dissolve 2 to 3 tablets under your tongue at the first sign of agitation so you can get the rest you need. Find Highlands Restful Legs in the pain aisle at Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, and Rite Aid. And enjoy fast and effective relief tonight with Highlands Restful Legs and Restful Legs PM. Highlands Restful Legs does not treat restless leg syndrome. If you suspect you have this condition, please consult a physician. Claims based on traditional homeopathic practice. Not accepted medical evidence, not FDA evaluated.
1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Donate online at carsforkids.com. That's cars with a K. Pickup is quick and easy. You'll also get a vacation voucher and a tax deduction.
1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Vacation voucher not available in Oregon.
So once again, we have a plane crash to report to you this afternoon. This is out of Canada. It's a Delta plane. It's an extraordinary sight. Let's take this full because this is an extraordinary sight. This Delta plane came in for a landing in the snow and 70-mile-an-hour winds, and it flipped completely over. You can see, I don't see it as clearly in this shot, but this shot right here, let's take that one up. The wheels up in the air. They've got the middle door open and the front door open, obviously, and they were helping passengers get out of there. But imagine this. All these folks are with their seatbelts on, we think, because only 8 people were injured, thank God, and one of them is critical, and we hope that person's okay. It looks like the one wing, if we're looking at it correctly, is broken off and on top. of this aircraft as it lies upside down. I mean, this is just an absolutely extraordinary story. The flight was coming from Minneapolis. As we said, all passengers and crew are accounted for. Senior correspondent Eric Shawn continues to get new details for us on this situation. Eric, what have you learned in the break?
Martha, what is so remarkable about this is the fact that that is an indication that the wing is broken off, that as you're right, perhaps when they were side slipping in very strong crosswinds, the pilot tries to get it down and the wing makes contact with the runway, and obviously a very violent and physical condition. It broke off, perhaps, and that is what flipped this Canadair regional jet on its back. As you point out, thankfully everyone has gotten out. Sadly, one person in critical condition, others not. Just an indication of just how dramatic when you end your flight. Don't take that seatbelt off at all. And we will know a lot more, of course, once the pilot communications are analyzed in terms of the wind speed, the direction, the reports from the previous planes that took off and others that were landing, if there were any go-arounds, for example, if the conditions were too windy at some point to land. Of course, when conditions are very windy, very often flights are diverted to other airlines or airports or just put on hold until they can land. So I think your analysis is correct that wing is just broken off because it probably hit the ground, and that is what flipped over this plane. But we'll learn a lot more from investigators as they go through the black box and try to analyze and piece together moment by moment of this plane. But you've got to be thankful that I've covered a lot of plane crashes, and they don't always end with everyone getting out of the plane, even right at the airport at the last minute. The CRJ 900 that you see is basically being largely, in some airlines, being phased out of some of the fleets in light of new Airbuses, the 220s that are coming on board. So they are still being used quite widely, but this is a 16-year-old aircraft, still quite serviceable and no problem with that age, but some of the connecting airliners are beginning to phase out some of these CRJs in favor of the Airbus 220s and the 175s that are built in Brazil by Embraer.
Eric, if I may, Eric, so we see them spraying water all over the top here. To the right of this is an engine, and I'm trying to get a handle on this engine and whether or not this engine snapped from underneath the wing that we see lying across the top. It's hard to tell if that engine's in the right place or not.
Yeah, no, that's not this. The engines are in the rear mounted. Both are rear mounted, so that engine in the rear that you see is exactly where it should be. Okay. You're thinking of like 737s or
where it's underneath.
Yeah, where the others the Embraers, 175s, and 190s, their engines are underneath. So that engine is exactly where it should be. It's, as you're right though, it's that left wing. If you flipped over on the side, it would have been, I think the right wing has been flipped off. So perhaps that wing struck the runway when he landed.
Yeah, you can see the skid marks along the side of that plane as these pilots tried to get this thing to come to a stop. Eric, stay with us if you can. Former commercial pilot and aviation expert, Captain Mike Caulfield joins me now. Mike, thank you very much for getting on the phone with us on this President's Day. As you look at this, give us a thought about what goes through your mind.
Well, thanks for calling it. Again, this is a miracle. But there are very few instances globally where an airplane ends up literally on its back. I mean, it's remarkable. Now, I've looked at some early data, as you both know, the NTSB will sign a memorandum of understanding with the Canadian authority probably within the hour, because Canada will take authorization of the investigation. But they have an agreement with the United States, so that'll be executed hopefully very shortly because Delta is a U.S. company. The remarkableness of it, as we were just saying, is the right wing's off. The front nose gear is up. I mean, it's out. We don't see the main gears. At 500 feet, the aircraft was just only doing 126 miles an hour, so it was slow. and it was descending at almost 1,100 feet a minute. Now, at a normal glide path at 500 feet, you'd only be doing about 500 feet descent rate, or 400 feet, 600 at the most. So it had an aggressive descent rate at 500 feet.
Wow.
It'll be interesting to see where the throttles were and where the thrust was at that point. I'm just, again, guessing. I haven't seen any live video yet, but
yeah, that's what we're waiting for.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, absolutely. No, your information is very helpful here. 70-mile-an-hour winds. At what point would air traffic control say, you know what, go back up, let's land you somewhere else, or let's circle for a little bit, hope these winds die down? At what point do they say don't land with winds?
Well, that's another interesting. The captain's authority holds more weight than you can imagine. The airport authority themselves in Canada could close the airport if they felt winds and it was unsafe to operate at the airport, period. If the captain has a form that he can look at in his computer or book that actually shows maximum winds, maximum crosswind, and maximum headwind, and of course, tailwind, you don't ever land in any more than 10 knot of a tailwind, ever. So they're going to go back and look at that immediately, too. 70 knots is a lot. So unless it's coming right up and down the runway, and can I add one thing to that?
Please.
Technically.
Mike, are you there?
Hello?
No,
yeah, I'm sorry.
We got you. Go ahead.
Can I add one technical thing to that? The way that works is you have a speed that's called VREF, and that's the speed that you normally operate on under temperature and wind conditions of a normal day. And so if the winds are 70 miles an hour, you either add anything over 10 knots, you add half of the wind plus any gust. So in this case, you'd have to have added almost 50, 60 knots to the approach speed. Well, they were way slow. And I'd have to go back and look at what the exact winds were. But yeah, at one point you would say, as a captain, if I'm descending at 1,100 feet a minute at 500 feet and I'm slow, then I would be executing the go around.
Yeah, you would be putting the nose back up and going back up for another round potentially, as I understand it.
Or find an alternate airport. Absolutely.
Right. Why would they have been going so slow?